Hey guys, so before we start the episode, I want to let you know that there were some sound issues in this episode. I was using mics that some of them weren't working. Some of them were too loud. I apologize. I did the best with the sound I could, but just a heads up, the sound may be a little bit crazy. This is a panel from Herb Fest 2025. So this is last year's panel, posting it this year. Sorry about how long it took me to post it. It is about mutual aid and Hurricane Helene. It is very, very good. So please check it out. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming. And we are recording this for a podcast. You guys have stickers, and then the bookmark. There's a number on the back of the bookmark, and that's for giveaways. We're giving away 3 books. We're giving away Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity During This Crisis and the Next, the Serviceberry book by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and then 2 books by Miss Byron Ballard, who's right down there. The giveaways will be at the end, so I'm going to start. Hello, I'm Jennifer Braverman.
And I'm Ellen Selma.
And welcome to our podcast, Stories from the Earth,
where we explore humankind's relationship and connection with the natural world.
This is a special podcast panel recorded live from the 35th Annual Asheville Herb Fest. Woo!
Please note the mics are only for recording purposes. Due to the time, please hold all audience questions till the end. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about mutual aid as a collective coordination to meet each other's needs, usually from an awareness that systems have in place are not going to meet them. And oftentimes those systems, in fact, might have created the crisis or are making things worse. So as an excerpt from one of our book giveaways here by Dean Spade, Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity During This Crisis and the Next, they write, the contemporary political moment is defined by emergency, acute crises like the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change-induced fires, floods, and storms, as well as the ongoing crises of racist criminalization, brutal immigration enforcement, endemic gender violence, and severe wealth inequality threaten the survival of people around the globe.
The 3 key elements of mutual aid are mutual aid projects work to meet survival needs and build shared understanding about why people do not have what they need. Mutual aid projects mobilize people, expand solidarity, and build movements. Mutual aid projects are participatory, solving problems through collective action rather than waiting for saviors.
So today we're going to be speaking with some local folks who have been involved with mutual aid efforts in our region since the record-setting catastrophe of Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina last September. Hello and welcome to all of our wonderful panelists. Can you please each introduce yourselves and say how our listeners can find out more about you and what you do?
Hi, I'm Lori Collins. I am the owner of Sister and Mother Earth, and right after Helene, we had a studio in Mars Hill, North Carolina, and we kind of transformed it into the free herbal pantry. It was one of the very first locations that didn't seem quite as damaged as everywhere else. We had power, well, after a couple of days. We had water, internet, we were getting mail, so it kind of became the first jumping off point, and then it grew into the Appalachian Herb Collective, which you'll hear from others, but I do want to say Janelle is in here, and Janelle has been with us since the very beginning as well. She is the owner of Twin Flower Botanicals, is that right? Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been talking all day, but we started from day one, and we had the pantry every week up until we moved to Marshall about 3 weeks ago. So we had to do a big transition, so it's been a long journey, but that's our part.
I'm Jeannie Dunn with redmoonherbs.com. I also serve on the board of Asheville Herb Fest with Lori Collins here. So she's been helping put the great posts out on social media. I really appreciate Lori's help. And it's coordinating the classes. We kind of work as a team a little bit on some of that. Red Moon grows weedy herbs, things that are very prolific in this area. I am also a volunteer at the Appalachian Herb Collective.
My name is Lori Buera. I'm also known as Herb Mama, MAMMA.com. First, I want to say Jeannie is far more than what she just said. She constantly puts groups of us together and ingredients, and we make things that she brings out to the people who need them. She just doesn't like to talk about it. I'm a farmer. I'm here from the farmer's perspective. I packed out pretty much everything that I had and labeled and sent it out to the collectives. So I'm just here from the perspective of I got wiped out.
Hi, I'm Abby Artemisia. I'm a local botanist, herbalist, forager, teacher, founder, executive director of the Wander School. Basically, I just started jumping in as soon as my basic needs were met. There's a lot more I could say, but I want to leave time for everybody else. And just organizing whoever I could to get together, make herbal medicine and deliver it to whoever we could, especially herbalists working on the ground in the hardest hit areas and historically underserved and marginalized populations like Friends in Cherokee and the Black community, the unhoused community, and Hispanic communities.
I'm Byron Ballard. I am a local folklorist, a folklorist herbalist. So if you need real information about how much I take for my body weight, I'm not the person to talk to. But if you want to know why you're having such bad dreams and how you can fix that, come see me. If you want to know, was that thing an omen? Yes, it was. We have been doing, I'm with Mother Goddess Temple, we have been working as a relief hub now for almost 7 months. And a penny has not yet come from Raleigh. A penny has not yet come from the federal government. So we have done this. These amazing women have done this. And we have all done this collectively. So we need to be proud of ourselves that we have survived. But now it's time to tell the story, because it's happening everywhere and it will continue to happen. And I'll say more about all that preaching stuff later. Thank you all.
Can you tell us briefly about your experience in the first few weeks right after Hurricane Helene hit? Just briefly.
Me?
Anyone who wants to jump in.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna let y'all keep that. So, I'll be honest, when it first happened, everybody here was cut off from everything. So you didn't know anything. And if you were okay, you knew you were okay. So we decided to venture out. I'm just going to describe this to you for a moment. We were coming down 26 into Asheville at Malfunction Junction, and right before you got to it, when you looked off to your right to the river, you could literally stand on the side of that road and throw a stone in the water. It was kind of a shock. Every one of us were like, everybody go home. Let's just go home. We don't want to be out. Because you just didn't know. And I will say this, it was almost immediate. People started gathering. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Yeah, they were knocking on each other's doors. Now, I will say in Mars Hill, Marshall, you knock on your neighbor's door, but you're not really walking down the street and knocking on somebody's door. We're all kind of far apart. Everyone had moved to the center of town. They were walking. Even Weaverville, there were down power lines, down trees. People were walking under them, out talking to their neighbor. I made a point to try to find places that were safe and had things. We didn't have water. We didn't have power. And that's when we realized at our studio we had water. We were like, okay. And the studio was right behind the fire department, which had that emergency internet. So we were able to jump onto the internet. It was incredibly important to just us, I guess, survival-wise, to know where we could go to do things. And then it's like people just started congregating. And I remember as soon as I got the internet, I put a call out. I was like, hey, we need help. We need something, we need these things. And for a while, for the first, I would say 2 months, we had just a supply pantry at the gallery. And then it turned into the herbal pantry. And then Lori brought up some medicine, and like it just started happening effortlessly, really. It was almost as if it was meant to be. And that was within the first week. In fact, now I'm more overwhelmed by it than I was then, just because, it's trauma and you're just kind of running on adrenaline.
Yeah, I was without power where I was and kind of blocked in by trees. My daughter lives downtown and wasn't as affected, but if y'all were in the city, you didn't have drinking water for months, right? So, and the day she came to check on me, like Saturday evening, I just started crying. And she's like, of course I'm going to come check on you, Mama. But, when you don't have phone signal. And really, my desire was to make sure the crew of Red Moon, there's 9 of us, were okay. And, neighbors, of course. And it was really sweet. I had like a wood insert stove with a chimney, so I heated water, and I'd go check on my 89-year-old neighbor and make sure, gave her some coffee or tea or something. I think the first week or two, I really appreciate that Madco Herb Collective jumped in on herbs, since they were in a easier access with water and electricity. But I think our first priority was drinking water. We were lucky at Red Moon that we're near Lori, that the power came on quickly out that way, so we were able, and we have a well, so we were able, and with filters, so we were able to get water and give it out to folks. The Herbal Collective thing has been amazing because it just kind of built by word of mouth and checking in with other herbalists, like who needs what and where's the first aid going. Now, as a community, I feel like so many people covered the baby wipes, paper towels, toilet paper, and canned food, but the emotional side, it was a lot of adrenaline, and to be able to then say, here, come and take from our herbal coffers, and people have brought things in, and we were able to make a tea blend with some of the stuff that Lori brought over and access from the other collectives. So that has been just that it just kind of blew up into this beautiful thing with these hubs was really great. But the first few days, it's like, I think the most shocking thing, and y'all please support, they're right outside this door, Asheville Tea Company. I didn't see any videos or anything for a couple of weeks, and then a friend texted me and said, you did see Asheville Tea Company's totally gone. And then I saw the video and I started crying because I just was like, that could be anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's lives lost here too, but to see your whole company, it was like thousands of square feet, get hit by a pole and just crumple like an aluminum can. That was just, whoa. So we're lucky that we're all here, right?
Yeah, when we heard the storm was coming, it had been raining for a few days. My house is high up on the hill. My forest farm is behind me, and we're still recovering from Tropical Storm Fred. I lost my nursery and like 300 ginseng plants. I'm still recovering from that one. Thank God, though, this time the water left. It took a different path, and I didn't plant where I did before. But we were stuck. The water took out the connection between my bridge and my driveway. And my husband had just had spinal surgery, and the neighbors knew. We only have 3 neighbors, but they ran and they got all these rocks and cement, and they filled it in, so because they know my husband, he was going through, whether he fell in the water or not. The water went 15 feet over the top of our little bridge. So that was kind of hard. And I mean, being from Buffalo, I thought, it's a hurricane, it's water, what the hell, big deal. Boy, that was fun. We had my daughter and her infant son with us, and he has a couple of health issues, and we had no phone service. We didn't have electricity, so we couldn't get water from our well, but we did have a tank so we could cook. The funny part was the next day the fire department came doing senior checks. And I just looked at them like they were crazy. My husband had to remind me that we're seniors. We forgot. So that was kind of fun too. But what happened, I'm in Candler, and we have a fire station around the corner, and these folks 2 years ago bought this church, turned it into a bakery, and we all turned it into a community center. So the church part, where they had the services, was the collection site. So people brought stuff in there, and they had electricity because they were across from the fire department. So we all went and charged our phones, and she didn't even take money. What do you want? What do you need? Have some tea, have some coffee. I just baked some bread. Pay what you can. And I got to meet a lot of neighbors, so that was kind of neat. For me, the problem now is I got to fix up the farm because I kind of gave everything away, and I won't have any more stuff until I can grow it. So looking for volunteers to come help.
During the storm, there were several very large old red oaks that fell along our road, and we live at the end of a gravel road in the West Asheville, Leicester area. And so one of them fell onto what we thought was a power line, but wasn't. And was very precariously leaning on someone's house. So it was like at least, several feet in diameter. And so there was no way we could take our little baby chainsaw and cut through it, or even like a regular chainsaw, without either somebody getting very hurt or the house becoming like damaged beyond how already was damaged. And so we couldn't get out of our road for about 5 days. And someone who lived on the road was a diabetic and needed to keep their insulin cold. And so just trying to deal with those sorts of things. My 22-year-old daughter was with me, and, just dealing with a young person who is in trauma at the same time that we're in trauma, and trying to manage that. I think the biggest thing for a lot of us was just not necessarily realizing we were in shock and trauma. I got any herbs that I had from my large apothecary, and later lots of donations that came in from out of state, and got them to people who I really want to call in right now. Renee Prince, for Elements School, John Janeski out there, Brown Creek Herbs. Renee was running herbs to areas where people were living in campgrounds on the side of the river in eastern Tennessee that had been flooded. And Kat from Herbal and John Janeski was out in Spruce Pine by himself running a clinic with acupuncture and herbs. And so just making sure those people were supported, making sure relief workers from places like Mutual Aid Disaster Relief and Be Well and the Asheville Tool Library were supplied, because that's really important. The people doing the work really need to be taken care of. Unfortunately, we all needed to be taken care of, and I feel like probably we're not on top of that.
Even now.
And then we were supplying herbal donations of remedies, non-alcoholic remedies, to 12 baskets in West Asheville, which we still are when we can, which is an amazing food pantry and soup kitchen I would recommend y'all all go to, because they encourage everyone to come and eat together. And the thing that really stuck out for me, I already had a relationship with them, was that this storm highlighted the needs that were already not being met. So the unhoused, low income, disabled, people of color in our community that are not being served. So that's been the main focus for me.
I just want to share what inspired us. And that was, we're a small temple. We have 3 rooms in an old hospital building, and they flood in a light rain. So when we went in there, we had no idea that we would still have electricity and internet. So early on, somebody in Barnardsville that I know said, we're in a world of trouble. This place is like Gaza. Come on in. Come on in. So we loaded up the biggest vehicle we had with all the stuff that we could get hold of, and we went to Barnardsville. And it was horrific. Those of you who are in Barnardsville, you know. And there was a car in a tree. That's the thing I remember so clearly, a car in a tree. We got to the hub in Barnardsville thinking it would just be madness. They said, just go across from the post office and deliver that stuff. And it was the most organized thing I've ever seen in my life. And were you part of that organization? And it was up within, I want to say minutes, but within days. So someone at the entrance said, are you picking up or delivering? And we said, we're delivering. You went a different way if you were delivering. We came in, we opened the back, 6 gorgeous young people came and unloaded the car. And there was a bay for everything. So if you were missing a person, if you needed triage for medicine, if you needed clothes, there was a bay for that. And there was a welcome table where they directed you to where you needed to go. And at the side of this old fire department building were probably 3 or 4 metric tons of bottled water. So Barnardsville was ready, and they needed to be ready. And I guess the sermon I would preach to you about all of this is not the end. This is the beginning. And all of us look slightly pasty and underfed because it isn't over. But it's important, if you were part of this adventure in mutual aid, to write down exactly what you did. Because we need to pass that on. We need to pass that on to the victims of fire in California, to the floods in Kentucky, because this is going to continue. And we have a template here for how communities come together because they love each other and because they're going to make it better. We did that. We're continuing to do that. So whatever part you played in that, write it down. Do a podcast, do a Substack, whatever the hell you want to do, because we need to keep a good record of this so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel the next time the French Broad floods, the next time the Pigeon floods, the next time there are fires in California. We have a template because we built it ourselves. And all of you, write it down, please.
Hello, everyone. It's herb quiz time. Woohoo! So we're going to start with the reveal and the winners, and then we will do the clue for May. This herb was chosen for us by Allie Berry, who we have interviewed already. That interview is already posted on the podcast. So if you're interested, check it out. She's amazing. She's a holistic culinary caregiver and a death doula. Okay, so here's the reveal. And it's a blue lotus. That is the herb. Yay! I believe everybody who guessed correct. All right, so I'm going to bring up our prize wheel. We had 3 people who guessed, not very many, but you all get lots of chance to win. Going to spin the wheel now, and we'll see who wins our swag and also who gets entered into our big end of the year drawing, which I am currently going to be picking out today at Asheville Herb Fest. So from all the awesome local herbal makers. Stay tuned for more details because I will have physical items to show y'all what you would be winning next time. So let's spin it. So my friend Cassie Langford, woohoo, has won. Yay, yay. So you will be getting your swag. I will contact you for your address. Yeah, you're now entered into the end of the year drawing. So now we're going to do our reveal for May. You have until May 20th to enter. And this herb was chosen by me. Okay, so this is our clue, our visual clue if you're watching on the podcast. This is a spring herb, a very common spring herb. And our little riddle is, I hide in leaves both soft and low, with purple faces all in a row. I bloom in spring, both sweet and shy, with heart-shaped leaves that catch your eye. What am I? So that's your clue. And good luck, everyone. You can enter on Spotify. You can enter on the Facebook group. You can enter on Instagram. You can enter on YouTube if I get it up in time. So we'll see about that. All right. Good luck, everyone. And back to the podcast.
If someone wants to start a mutual aid group, what are some tips, basic advice, or information to help get them started?
I think it's important that even though, yes, when you're running on adrenaline and you're in trauma response, you really think about your organization, what each person is really good at, and let that be what they do, instead of trying to make everybody do everything. So I'll say this, Janelle's very good at admin, putting forms together, organizing things where we can all read it and access it and it help us. The biggest thing she did was make a list of herbalists that were in the area that needed help, that people could buy from, to donate, to help. She also put together a volunteer list that we all shared with one another, which is incredibly important, because most people, what we realized in situations like this, want to help, just don't know what to do. They don't even know where to begin. They're like, well, I'm just one person. I don't know what to do. And it's important when things like this happen that you start organizing your thoughts. What does this community need? What do who wants to help? And then start putting them in list, getting their information, and actually reaching out to them. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, because when everybody's doing something, not one person is doing it. And I think that was so important in the very beginning, how organized things were. I'm just going to say hands down, Janelle did that for the entire Herb Collective. And yeah. It was really hard, and I'm stubborn, and I'm crazy, and I'm ADHD, and I know everybody. I love to network, and yes, so, but that's my strong point. Her strong point is something else. And we had another gal with us the entire time, Erica, that is very good at that. So that would be my key thing to say to anyone. When something happens this close to home, start organizing. And guess what? We've done it now. We know what to do next time. And that would be my biggest thing to say to you today, if I don't say anything else noteworthy, is the fact that if you can get yourself organized quickly, that is what's really going to benefit your community and yourself.
I was very grateful that Lori and Janelle and Erica and Madco started what they started. You saw there was some action going on, and I wanted to know how I could plug in from the herbal perspective. Once food and water was kind of taken care of, and our crew was up and running again with power, and our internet was down for a while. We had to do a hotspot with the phone for a little while just to get the basic orders out, because people outside of our area didn't know, right? And you could only apologize a certain number of times, because you're like, well, these folks are actually helping keep the lights on and pay the employees, right? So we want to get them their packages as quickly as possible. But then I'm like, well, I've got the space and we're makers. Let's just invite people in. So we had plant seed swaps. We had some pours. We did pours for community. We made some food and had food together. Budgie's Bake Shop is what Lori's speaking out of. We're only a half a mile from them. So we took some of our extra my family came in and just made me bawl because they brought $2,000 worth of stuff from down east, and it was like it filled half the church up. And it's like they just like rallied around. And I know you all have stories of that too, where someone showed up for you, or someone came from out of state with a big trailer load, and it was the people on the ground. Like, it takes a while for governmental agencies to get in place anyway. So the sooner we can get to certain places, and folks with chainsaws or folks with shovels, whatever it is. I think so many people were in just like robotic, kind of moving through the day. And then when we did have herbs out on a table somewhere, under a tent, or at our places, and said, come on, help pour with us, and then we'll go take it. What Appalachian Herb Collective became was, thanks to French Broad Food Co-op, because they have a basement where we could then fill bins up. We had 9 or 10 bins that could then go out to 9 or 10 stations, including East Tennessee and several places around western North Carolina, including Swannanoa and a little bit to Black Mountain. But once we got in the flow of that, people would come up and they'd be like, what? This is free? They couldn't believe it was free. So, yeah.
Well, the other thing that these ladies did was they had herbalists to take care of us. So there were master herbalists from around the country that came in.
Yeah, I think on that same note, I just really cannot emphasize enough like how important it is in the days and month, 2 months, 3 months afterwards to put self-care first. Because again, we were all in shock and trauma and did not realize it. And I've talked to so many people just in the last few days who are like, I don't know what's going on. I'm so tired. I'm like getting sick. I don't know. And it's like, you are just now 7 months in, starting to step out of shock and burnout. And we all just jumped in because we're like, oh, I have herbs, I have medicine, I can help. And most, if not all of us, I don't think really just stopped and said, are my needs met? Do I have enough food? Have I slept? Like, how am I going to pay my bills? How is my business going to survive? Every single one of us is an entrepreneur here, a small business owner, and we just jumped in. And recently I was asking a friend, like, I'm just figuring out how to run a nonprofit. Any advice? And she's like, I can tell you what not to do. So I can tell you all that. And, hopefully other people don't have to do that. But like, self-care is so freaking important. A lot of us also have autoimmune conditions. So many people stepped up outside of the area. And if there's like one thing that I would really stress, it's delegating more to people outside of the area who have capacity and resources. And just being really super honest with your own capacity and making time and space to step back every few days, every week, even every day, 5 minutes a day. Like, what is my actual capacity right now? How am I actually doing? And confide in somebody as well. So burnout is really, really real. And like the thing that people kept saying was, just remember, this is a marathon, not a race. So, and I'm still trying to remember that, because the other thing that happens is, of course, when we're in the limelight, everyone rushes in, and now 7 months later, where is everybody? They're in LA, and they're in Kentucky, they're in Virginia, and we still need help. So, plan for the long haul.
What we learned, I think all of us here, one of the things we learned is to ask for what we need. So we just kept running on empty for years and years. And now I'm at a place when we need something, on Facebook I go, here's what we need right now. We need a refrigerator. And it has not failed in 7 months that there isn't someone who will say, oh yeah, I've got one of those. Or it was a vacuum cleaner recently. I said, I need it. And within 2 hours, we had a vacuum cleaner. So what I've learned is that asking with no expectation that it will be met or not met, but just saying, this is what my need is right now. We are primarily a pagan community. And I was a little miffed at the Druids nationally because they had not stepped up in a way they needed to. And so what I created was a fundraiser specifically to target them, because we lost 40% of our mature trees in Buncombe County. So we, with the help of Asheville Greenworks, raised money to buy native oak trees to be replanted. And across the country, and a couple of places in Britain, and one place in South Africa, we raised $5,000 that we just handed over to Asheville Greenworks and said, do what you do. So there are people out there that want to help, and I think, Jeannie, you were saying they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to help. And if we will just tell them what we need, they'll figure out how to get that to us. But we are so damn self-sufficient. Look at these women. Anything you need, you're these women, anything you need, we can come up with. But now it's time for us to say what we need, and so that we don't have to come up with it anymore.
It's funny that you say that. So as a farmer, I have a certain way of doing things, and I'm used to having students and interns who don't know what they're doing and listen to me. And there was just so much to be done. And then I got a call and I teach for the Organic Growers School. They were like, we haven't been out there. How would you like some help? I'm like, what? What do I have to do? Like 5, 10, 15 people? What would you like? We have an afternoon open. Can we come over? And it was like, whoa. Again, why didn't you call? Why didn't you go on the list? Somebody noticed that I wasn't on the list. And they just showed up like 2 weeks ago.
One of the things that we did, that we started very early on, but we also had one. We had a huge whiteboard. And my children actually helped me keep the list up. And I would take a picture of that whiteboard like every 2 or 3 days. And it's amazing because I would have like stuff on there, and then a couple of days later we would get like Amazon packages with those things in that box. And I think it's important because people are watching, especially when there are natural disasters like that. People, like you said, want to help. They just don't know what to do. So when you have something that's very regular and you're committed to showing it, people are watching for that. And that's how they're going to, because I mean, even like we had listed, we wanted to do cold care packs. So I had very specific things listed on there. And then we got like a box full of every bit of that.
And you had it nicely organized into categories.
Yes.
For like,
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky that it was enormous.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
It's easier than keeping up something digital. You could just put it on a dry erase.
And we would erase it and add, and because like most places at some certain point we had so much water, like we almost didn't know what to do with it. So we were like, stop sending water, and we actually put that there.
Well, we are at Asheville Herb Fest, so we had to get this question in there. Herbs that'd be good to have on hand, ladies. I know it's always hard to pick your top favorites, but what herbs did you reach for first during this event?
I will say that we reached for a lot of grief herbs and UTI herbs. Janelle, you might be able to remember some of the first ones that we did. I know holy basil, ginger, digestion was a big one too. Yeah, because people were not drinking enough water. So that was a big thing in the very beginning. So we asked for a lot of herbs that would help that. And then skullcap. Nettles.
Milky Oats. So much Milky Oats was needed.
That was the first for us. Yeah.
For our volunteers, we still have a big jug of elderberry tincture and fire cider. And we did it religiously, 3 o'clock every day. We did a shot of one. We waited for 15 minutes and did a shot of the other. I will recommend you do the elderberry first.
I was going to say Skullcap was the one we reached for as a crew. We have a formula called Take It Down a Notch, which has blue vervain and skullcap and Milky Oats. So the mimosa, we have a mimosa elixir with bark, flower, leaf, and honey and a little alcohol, but it's not a product. But for the Appalachian Herb Collective, we created grief relief, and it was Tulsi, hawthorn flower and berry maybe, and mimosa flower and bark. And that was people really, that one got cleared out first. Anybody else who came along doing a mimosa, something that they sent us from somewhere else in the country, those got snatched up very quick. Children's formulas, or homeopathics for the elderly, or those that just don't need a large dose. Chamomile.
We still can't get enough chamomile. We're still
Chamomile short.
running short on chamomile products.
Yeah.
I think all those things, flower essences, are really good to remember, and any products that don't have alcohol in them, because you don't know who you're going to be serving. And with working with the unhoused a lot, that is a problem, because there's a lot of addiction issues. Just being able to meet people on that spiritual plane and meet the trauma on that energetic plane. Thinking about anything nourishing, because people are oftentimes just eating whatever they can get from donations or whatever's canned food is left in their pantry. I've been, just networking with a bunch of herbalists who have been through this before, and like talking to Lorna from Herbalista, which they have a great toolkit. If anyone is interested, it's like $5 a month online, and they sent us lots of donations as well, and they have lots of formulas on there, and like Janelle was saying, lots of free stuff as well, recipes on their website. And so talking to them, and Flora and Forage, who kind of took over the herb cart in Atlanta, and then also talking to Linda Black Elk, she was saying like a lot of what they did up in the Dakotas at Standing Rock was super simple things that are easy to give away if people don't have a lot of resources. So things like spice blends, herbal infused salts. They made nourishing broths and canned them and gave them away. So even if you don't have a way to heat it, if it's canned, you can just open it and drink it or eat it, whatever, put vegetables in it, and putting things like nettles in there, thyme, like great antimicrobials, red clover, and garlic, of course, in a good chicken or vegetable-based broth. So all those good nourishing herbs.
I also wanted to mention the Sarah Nunez and, how do you pronounce it? Aflora. And they did a lot of teas, and they are still out there doing outreach. That community, besides for the flooding, is in trauma right now anyway and needs support.
What have been your key lessons and takeaways from your lived experience since September of 2024?
Yeah, wrapping it up here, ladies. What would you have as your final words to inspire folks?
Depend on your community. Actually, I was home. I was the base at home while my husband and my daughter ran around. She works with the school system, helping children that are having issues in school with the families, and she made sure all of her kids were safe. And she just wouldn't sit still, so I stayed with the baby, and I stayed home. And I did flower essences. I just think they're real important to keep around. And chicken soup, because you can eat chicken soup up on the grill.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I would say to people is you need to be preparing more. You need to be really focusing first on your family, like what you eat, what you need, your own health issues, and really start stocking for yourself first so that you are in a better place, because we do have to help as a community. Like, you can't, I don't think anybody would have really successfully survived if they had not been involved with their community. You can't just stay in your home the whole time after a trauma. So if you know that your basic needs are met and you have the things that you need, you are better prepared to be out there helping others. And I will say, my background, for years, we were, I guess for lack of a better word, we were preppers. We preserve things, we store things, everything. And when this storm hit, we were very prepared. Even without power, without the things that, we have every day, right down to, like, we even had a toilet that we could use. Like, we created that a long time ago, so we didn't have to worry about that. And that's a big deal, to not be able to go use the restroom. It's very, it can, like, do something to your psyche. You know what I'm saying? So if you know that your basic needs are met and you have what you need, then you know that you're going to be available mentally, physically, spiritually, all of those, emotionally, to help others, because we do have to come together in situations like this. Otherwise, we don't survive and we don't do well. And I think that's why Western North Carolina did so well. It's because so many people came together and just did it, didn't wait. They didn't wait on anybody. We say this a lot, nobody's coming to save us, and that's the damn truth. No one is coming to save us but us. So be better prepared.
I was lucky to go with a few people around downtown because Lexington, Broadway, some of those streets, there's a lot of folks hanging out. Now, they could have been getting hot meals and clothing and things at the centers, but one day, and one of the most fun things we did, and this is back to being spontaneous, is we just started, we flipped a tailgate down and started cooking burgers with just the smallest little propane grill. And then people just kind of, the word went around and people just walk up, and we had all the condiments out. And what a gift to have hot food in the middle of, after it was a dreary day, it was cold, it gotten, right after the storm it got really warm, and then it kind of turned cold again. And so it was so nice. And then I just hung some a few coats and nice little flannel shirts in the tree, and then people would come and shop for a little bit of stuff, but it was so on the fly. And then also I noticed a lot of different hubs were inundated with too much clothing, dirty clothing, the wrong things, busted things. So when someone asks for certain things, which I know you were doing the whiteboard, which is fabulous, there's a reason they're asking for those specific things. And some of my friends sent me things, and I'm really appreciative because I could take some to the little boxes, the beloved Asheville boxes. They always need filling, by the way, and I wish every city in America had the same. I know there's little lending libraries and there's little food pantries, but Beloved took those old, Take 5 and Mountain Express boxes and made little food things. So high protein snacks, a pack of nabs, as we call them here, pack of crackers. Vitamin C drops. Chapsticks, maybe some small wipes. But I look for tuna in packets or peanut butter.
Those little
chicken packets, things like that. So they got snatched fast. And Renee Prince will say she really helped a lot. She found resources. Also, there's communities that still exist. Our Haven on the Hill in Waynesville is an RV community, and the RVs are not attached yet, and they have generators. But there's other communities like that where cooking them a hot meal or preparing something ahead of time with a few folks and taking it. Calling the director there or the assistant director, making sure it's okay, someone else is not on the schedule. But we went out to serve up some herbal stuff. I went with Erica Joy. Renee came another time, and some other folks at Red Moon volunteered. And it turned out they just wanted a hot meal. They didn't want the herb. They did take some herbs, but we ended up cooking instead. So you just got to kind of change, go with no expectations. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I'm going to mostly go back to what I said before, self-care before everything else. And so this is part of accessibility, because accessibility for others, really super important. So where are you having your clinics? Are they handicapped accessible? How are you getting the word out to people? If it's only on Instagram, are there some communities who might not be connected to your Instagram? Are they not going to see it because of the algorithm? Do they not go to that neighborhood? You need to actually get to that neighborhood. And of course, most of us being white, like, we have to be careful about white saviorism. And there's like a very fine line, because people need things. So we don't want to say like, no, we're not going to go into that neighborhood, but how can we get people in neighborhoods, various neighborhoods, involved? But just thinking about accessibility, but accessibility includes it being accessible for us, the people doing the work, because if we're way beyond our capacity, that's not going to last very long. And so part of that too is asking for help, as folks have said, going really slow, making it like stupidly simple. And so like, even if you think it's stupid, like, no, just slow the hell down, pick one thing and do it. Because, you know, trying to do so many things, like we started off, oh, we're gonna supply things to the soup kitchen, and we're gonna set up there like every week and give away stuff, and we're gonna help these relief workers and set up things there, and we're gonna have a free clinic. And like, it's too much. You just have to like start with one thing and maybe like figure out how to do that one thing very good, very well, and then move on from there. And along with that, like making it really easy. I was part of a couple other groups, but I had to step back because there were things like, okay, we're all going to communicate on this platform. We want you to onboard to this platform. We want to have meetings every week. And I can't, like, no. So really being honest with yourself about your capacity and not shaming yourself, which is a huge thing, because I think every single one of us, we're all in burnout, and so many times through this, we have all shamed ourselves that we weren't doing enough. So make it easy, make it simple, go slow, be really honest with yourself about your capacity, have someone you can bounce that off of, like especially if you have a partner or kid, and they can be like, no, you're doing too much. Yeah, you gotta listen to them. And yeah, just make it as simple as possible. Oh, also as far as like the remedies go, making everything labeled really, really well. So you know if there's alcohol in something or not, you know exactly what is in there and how to use it, preferably thinking about things like who are you serving. So if you're serving unhoused people, they're not gonna most likely be able to use a bag of bulk tea. Like it needs to be in a tea bag. Things like that. How are they gonna measure it out? You know, things like that. Can they have glass? Can they not? Is it something that if they get picked up by a police officer, they might get in trouble for that? So,
I just keep listening to you talking about self-care and nodding like, oh, of course, naturally. We're all doing that, aren't we? No, we're not. Here is something that we learned with Katrina. We learned it big, and that was the victims of any natural disaster, whether it's human-made or it's always human-made, let's just be clear, are the people who are the victims. We are the first responders every time. So to echo what Lori said, be ready to be a first responder and to be first in your family. Respond in your neighborhood. Respond on the ground so that those circles ripple out from where you are. So what I've been saying to people about the uses of power, because I talk about that a lot, and of course, in the place that we are since the hurricane, on both a national and a local level, with power and authority, remember this. This is where power and authority start, with your heart. It moves from your heart to your hearth, from your hearth to your neighborhood, from your neighborhood to your town, from your town to your county, from your county to your state, from your state to your region, from your region to your nation, and from your nation to the world. And that's how power and authority have to move now. Now. So it starts with each one of us. We're not waiting for somebody to come in and save us, because as we've learned, they're not coming. But we're here, and we know what to do. We've learned what to do. And I'm grateful for all of you, all of you.
Okay, so we're going to do the giveaway. We're going to do audience questions if anyone has any. But first, I want to thank everybody for our lovely panelists. And just in case they have to go, because it is 3:05, so.
And assist, other than just what do you need and what can you do?
Well, I will say this. I'll let Janelle speak in a minute about that too, because I'm sure she could answer some of that. We used, just for sake of not knowing of anything else, Evite, because now they have a new thing called sign-up forms. So what we did is we linked that form, because we could put in the dates that we needed people to work, what we were doing that day. They could give us our contact, and that form would actually send them reminders and say, hey, you've volunteered for this day, whatever, you know. So that made it easier to say specifically what we needed, and if somebody wanted to do that. And to be fair, I think there might have been 1 or 2 weeks that we didn't have a volunteer. We had volunteers. When we'd put a form out, they signed up because we were very specific.
So your question is about physical sign-up sheets as opposed to digital? Gosh, I don't know.
Like Lori and I just ended up catching up with each other at the library parking lot because we were just going to the immediate community that we knew. And we pretty quickly went digital. It was almost in time. So I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest, right now. It's been such a departure. Just the world we live in is such a departure from that, outside of just the word of mouth traveled. So like once we had our location secured, people would just show up.
Yes.
Right? So like we had a lot of drop-ins. But Google Forms was our friend.
Yes, it was.
Like we did everything through Google, the Google platform, which as much as, Erica Joy wants to transition to, let's
Get back to what you want to do.
Yeah, want to do, right.
But I will say, just the way, especially here in Western North Carolina, we are so, even Madison County, it takes an hour and a half to go from one side of the county to the other. So, literally, there's really not a way to have like a physical copy that is really efficient in getting people there and organizing. It has to be digital now. But in that case, a lot of people didn't have internet, and they would just show up, which is going to be what's going to happen anyway. Going back to what Jeannie said, sometimes you just kind of have to go with it. Don't have any expectations, but if you can put something together digitally, for those that can and have access, online, that is a very efficient way to keep in contact and get people moving.
And initially, we were just like showing up at the same place every week, right? So Lori was very quick to set a schedule and say we're going to be open on this day of the week or these days of the week during these times. And so if people showed up and the word of mouth traveled and they just knew where to go, they would just arrive, and we would figure out what to do with them as in terms of, because in those early days there was just always something to be done.
Mm-hmm. And that goes to what Byron was saying. If you have a space, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a great space, but if you have a space, people look for solid stability in situations like this. So if you've got something that's very stable, then they're going to come to that place. That's just where they're going to go.
Well, and we were just so fortunate that our space was also right next to one of the county library locations, which was one of the first, so the fire station, the library, all those things were right there. And so people were showing up there anyway just to get internet.
Yeah, and the church was feeding people 3 meals a day. They were feeding breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So everybody was in that area, and we were on the bottom floor, so anybody could come into the space that we had. So it was very accessible.
Outside of a building, people are going to go say, that's a place I can get supplies.
Yes.
There's these, you're
driving around in these disaster areas, and there's certain, you just figure out as you're a victim of one of these natural disasters what the signs are to find resources. And so you're starting with, like, what's my next immediate need just to stay okay? And usually if you start with something like food, water, then you just build on.
Then they will come.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions here?
I have a question about working through social fragmentation. When people come together from different backgrounds, different classes, different lived experiences, and they start responding to emergency, how have you worked through issues that come up with communication and other borders and boundaries that people deal with when working with each other?
Putting aside my own thoughts and feelings on things, in situations like that, I feel like, I'll give you an example. We had a gal that would come in to the hub, and I don't know if she ever came in when you were in there, and she was a person of color. And in Madison County, there's not very many people of color. I guess what I said to her the first day that she came, I said, I realize that we're probably not your community. And she was like, yes, but can I come here and get what I need for my community? I said, absolutely. You take whatever you need. And I think that is where we can come together. We recognize what each other needs. And that goes back to exactly what Abby said, that white savior. We have to be very careful not to overstep and just offer what we have and however much they need. And they know better than we do what their community needs. For me, it's not, I don't know, it wasn't hard for me to do that, but I do know that there are areas in Western North Carolina where people do struggle with that. And I heard several stories, especially up in Burnsville, that people were not kind. I just have to believe that we can do better, and we're going to do better as we learn. And I'm going to do better. And I hope that you will do better. It is hard, and it's hard for marginalized communities. Just like, I think that would be a great question. I wish somebody from Affluent would have been here, because that's what they've been doing since 2020. But you just have to be very mindful. And I will say this, the time has passed for us to sit quietly and watch. If you see something wrong, you need to say something. Yes. You need to be vocal, and you need to be loud, and you need to call it out. I did not get to see that when we were doing, people would just come in, get what they need, and left. We didn't question. We did have a couple of times in the very beginning. Yes, we had people came in, take a lot of stuff, and they weren't communicative, but we just kind of had to let them do it. We're not here to guard and safeguard and gatekeep. That stuff came here. You just take whatever you need. I didn't ask questions. I didn't say, how much money do you make? Do you still have your job? I didn't do that.
We still don't.
Yeah, we still don't. You just come and you get what you need. And if you have a community that you're serving, you take what you need for them too. What I have found is that we always have enough. We will always get more, just like what we were talking about. When you ask, it's going to come, no matter what. So I never worried about any of that part. I just knew that things were going to be taken care of. This is definitely geographical for us. Things were different in Swannanoa. Things were different in Southside, in different places. So for us, that was our lived experience. I think you just have to have faith in humanity. You can't stop having faith in humanity. Things are going to show up for the people that need it. And you have to be willing to speak up, and you have to be willing to share and just let it go. It came to your place, wherever you are housing your community and doing the things that you need to do for them, and let it go to the people that come in. And I hope that answered some of your question.
Is it mutual aid or is it charity? There's differences between the two things. So charity is when you decide what a community needs or what you're willing to give, and you compile it and you hand it out in a formulaic way, right? When it's mutual aid, you're finding out what your community actually needs and you're responding to that very directly, and you're trying to meet that need. You're not trying to dictate what people need for themselves. I think back on even my own lived experience of, I'm not a wealthy person. In fact, I haven't been off food stamps in a long time until recently, where I've gotten to where I'm in that transition zone of going from being in poverty to maybe, not having those resources. So I think back on a church that wanted to give my kids Christmas presents one year, and I was like, I need firewood. Can I get some firewood? Because that's what I actually need. My kids are like, I've got people who are gonna make sure my kids have shit to open on, raised by a Danish sailor. My kids will have stuff to open on Christmas. I'm not worried about that, but I need to make sure that we're warm. And so I had to just tell them, this is what I need. I don't need a bunch of plastic garbage for my kids to play with for 5 minutes and then I get to clean it up for ad nauseum. I need firewood. And so it's the same, that is the lens I was looking at these things through. And so I've had a lot of private thoughts that I've written down, lots of, about who are your people on your team? What are their lived experiences? What kinds of things have they been through that can lend to their skill set, And so, and the way they look at and perceive the world. And so even just having been in those experiences can bring a level of and just some people just don't know what to do because it would never occur to them that is how it is for people, So you're not trying to respond to what you think is the right thing to do. You're responding to what's actually being asked.
We had an experience at the YMCA downtown because we're near there, and they were offering free food. And so we would go many times a day and take everything they were willing to give us. And at one point, a woman said to me, I was looking at single serving sizes of Spam. And these are really precious if you're working with the unhoused community. And it was like a case of individual Spams. And I got so excited. And I said, can I just take the whole box? And she literally looked down her nose at me and she said, you really eat that stuff? And I thought, dear North Asheville matron, let me explain to you what is going on today.
What it's like to be an opportunist.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you're living this phase of being an opportunist.
But the other thing about where we are is that there's a new opportunity for us to serve our community. And now that ICE is here, and now that our Hispanic community is afraid, we need to, as we can, be a resource for them. Where we open the door, they take what they need, we don't ask questions. We don't learn their names, we don't know where they live, because all we need to do is to give them what they need right now. Because again, we're not the white saviors of the Hispanic community. We're here to give them 2 pounds of dried pinto beans, because by God, they will use them.
Oh, and to add on to my story, they still wanted me to take Christmas presents for my kids. They got me firewood. They did help give me. They got me wet, crappy firewood. But then they still they still kind of dumped a bunch of Christmas presents on me too, which was fine, right? But just they still needed it to look a certain way. Is my point. Your mutual aid isn't going to maybe always look the way you think it should. You're gonna eat Spam because Spam is what's there, or rip open tuna packets are like the most exciting thing. You're like, yay, protein that I don't need a can opener for, and I can just literally stick a fork in it and have some food because that's what I need in this moment. This is the next thing that I need to get through the day, especially in those early days after that stuff happened, after these things happen.
Any other questions?
So I heard a little bit of shade that was thrown towards Raleigh and the governmental response to Helene, and I was wondering if there was any tips that y'all have for navigating galvanizing city, state, federal government assistance like to your causes, or conversely, working around them when they're trying to be in your way?
Don't wait on it.
Yeah, don't wait on it.
Don't wait on it.
Don't expect it.
Don't expect it.
But I will say this, I heard a lot of positive responses for FEMA. I also heard a lot of negative. But I know personally, FEMA was very quick for us. I mean, I will say this, when FEMA comes, you go to them. Don't go online, don't fill out any forms. You go to them and sit in front of a FEMA person, okay? I mean, we did that and we immediately got funds and things that we needed. I mean, it was like 3 days. So, you know, I can't speak for everybody. I know everyone here in this Western North Carolina has a story about FEMA, but I will say, you know, the people that I talked to definitely had a positive experience with them. Now, do they fix everything? No. Did they stay long enough? No. That goes right down to don't expect them. You just get to work.
Well, and it's not that they're not going to respond, it's not that they're not going to do anything, but is it going to happen in a timely manner? So I think about Emily Wood of Good Fight Flowers out in Shelton Laurel, Madison County, North Carolina. I was on her, watching her through Instagram stories, raise $10,000 through her clientele on her Instagram, and then turn around and get her truck and trailer and abandon everything that had to go on with her flower farm at the end of the season, and drive to Lowe's in Johnson City and pick up $7,000 worth of stuff to bring back to Marshall to clean up downtown Marshall. Like, that's how we did it. That's how all of our individual pockets of communities did that stuff to get through those initial days. And like, there are some, and they were all small business owners. They were all a lot of really amazing women in particular.
Farm Connection.
Farm Connection.
Farm Connections raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and donate, because right after the storm, all these farmers had all this food and they had to get it out. But they weren't getting paid. They raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and paid these farmers for their food. Government didn't do that. It was just...
Yeah, and they were doing something like similar to what I was hoping to do for the Herbalists. Like Farm Connection did it in this just brilliant.
Yeah.
What the work they did was...
And she's here. They're here.
Yes.
They're selling their plants here.
Yeah, their work was tremendous and exact. Like, yeah, if I could replicate anything that I saw any other mutual aid effort do, it's what they did. It was pretty phenomenal.
Almost to your point, I would kind of, it just makes me curious. I don't expect any of you to have the answer, but I feel like probably a lot of the people in the upper echelons of the government, just by nature of their work alone, are not going to be this in touch. I mean, they never can be, and it can't be expected of them. But do they know? Like, does any of this, even 7 months out, get back to them? Like, they need to sit in front and hear each of these ladies' stories, everybody's story from the area, you know? So if anything, I would think the people that have the capacity to maybe take it to them, because they've done their little flyovers and their little stop-ins here, and that's probably all we're going to get. So, like, if there was more ways to get people in front of them to hear, well, like, this is how we handle things, just to get, if nothing else, maybe it would get wheels turning at higher levels on, like, how this kind of stuff can be handled in the future. Glass half empty, they'll probably be like, well, you guys clearly have it covered. We'll leave you to it. Glass half full, maybe somebody with the right ears hears and goes, okay, well, how can we implement this on a larger scale when the time comes again? But it's going to take the voices locally getting the word to them, because they're not just going to come here and ask.
All of you need to run for office.
Yeah, there you go.
All of us. You know, we were doing the call 5 a day for I don't even know how long. I have a personal beef with Chuck Edwards. And after a while, I stopped calling to say, please consider what's happening to your people. And I said, listen, I want you to Google my name and understand that I'm going to run against you in the next election.
Correct.
And I'm a witch.
And you're going to win.
And I'm a witch. Now, of course, I've had no response to that, but I think all of us focus back on what's going on with the constituents and the land and the cultures that are being decimated by climate disaster and, frankly, federal disaster. So run for office. And if you don't want to do it, find that person who's a big mouth, who loves to be in front of people and get them to do it. But we need to get these people out because they're not serving us, they're not representing us, and they are not us. So get them out. Run yourself.
Well, if that's all the questions, thank you all for hanging out with us today.
And I just want to say that there is an email sign-up sheet right there if you want to sign up. Stay in the know. We just do like once a month. Hey, we have a new episode. That's it. But anyway, yeah. Again, thank you for coming out. And this will be up on the podcast at some point.
One video at a time. That's how we make changes, right?
Yeah. So the camera was, I did hit record. The camera was going off record by itself. It did it. It did it again, and the person sitting. Yeah. But you have the ability, like it went on.
I've listened to a couple of your guys' podcasts, but I'm gonna sign up for the email because
Which one did you listen to?
I'm very interested in like all of this stuff, like so like braiding sweetgrass I read and stuff, like so I'm like just I don't remember which one it's like stuff pops up on my and I'm like I don't know where you came from or which phone was listening to me say that I like this and everything and like so it's like so.
We do plan on doing braiding sweetgrass at some point, but it'll be.
Well, I saw the quote on your little thing, and then you gave away the book. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was like, all this stuff. Cause yeah, I don't remember which one popped up across my screen. Cause I've been following Miss Byron for
she's on. We have one.
So then I probably clicked on the episode with her.
We have one of her with her roots, branches, and.
I think I listened to that one.
And then she's on two or three of my panels. We did on the seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, we did 3 of them on the seasons, each season.
I think I might have listened to the one on the roots, branches, and stump water because I have.
Well, it's so nice to meet you.
I'm Savannah.
Jennifer.
Nice to meet you. Ellen. Yes.
Yes, we don't get to meet the.
Yeah, you're always on the other side of the screen.
It's a little daunting to,
be in front of people.
Be in front of people, but it's important to.
I mean, technically, that's what we're all doing. We're all trying to connect. So I'm glad you guys made it out here. So it's so glad to the connections. I think that's another thing with all of this stuff going on in the world right now. Like we just have to keep reaching out and connecting with each other and stuff. So I appreciate you guys creating a space that we can do that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a good rest of your weekend and everything.
Yeah.
And well, I guess. I don't know. I'll listen. Maybe I'll comment and we'll connect again.
Yeah, comment. We have an email. We're there.
Yes.
Thank you.